Hey everyone, this is Jesse here at Jesse Lee Strength and Fitness. I just kind of wanted to do a little bit of a whiteboard session with you guys today, kind of on some concept I was discussing with a client earlier this morning. And some things that kind of came up for us was trying to move up the scale of exertion, finding kind of a new homeostasis and understanding where our exertion moves into overexertion and trying to find a sweet spot so where we can also focus in on not only performance, but growth, change, and our concepts of what it means to push ourselves. In the strength and conditioning world, we sometimes rely on scales to understand how hard we're working. So we have an RPE scale, a rate of perceived exertion. So the rate of perceived exertion, the sweet spot, we kind of, this can be discussed scientifically, but that sweet spot around a 7 or maybe an 8 is going to help elicit gains, so to speak. So strength gains, potentially hypertrophic gains, meaning you might grow some muscle. So that's kind of where we're looking at on the continuum of growth, change, scale. We're looking to nudge ourselves towards more growth and change over time, not only in the gym, but also through our habits, through our ways of being, our self-concept and our self-belief, to understand maybe what we're really capable of. There can be self-limiting beliefs. There can also be physical beliefs as well, or physical realities that's going to keep us in a particular realm. However, what I want to try to emphasize in today's quick session is that there can be some ways we can establish some metrics to understand what our scales are. And over time, we can establish new ways of being by pushing ourselves, sometimes maybe going into the land of overexertion to test the waters and then coming back out in order to have a new kind of way of being. So I'll just kind of talk you through this really quickly, and hopefully that made some sense. So on this kind of scale, this is a continuum. We're kind of moving on the left here from idle and unmoving. So that's just kind of almost immobilized. Okay, I'm just kind of emphasizing on a full spectrum. We've got overexertion to where your max effort is, that might be on game day or in the Olympics. You're going to do everything you can to win. But that's a really hard place to stay in training and in life. Down here is also a really hard place to stay because we're not going to ever elicit any type of change. That's below even homeostasis. And homeostasis is basically the body's kind of design need to self-preserve. So homeostasis is going to be at rest. There will still be some basic general movements for survival. However, it's not really it's not moving the scale at all. It is surviving and making, you can live in that way. So, and as we kind of go up the scale, we've got what I would call minimum activity. So that might be homeostasis plus a little bit. So maybe that's, just for example, walking around the block or doing some things. It might be going to work and doing the minimum task required. It's not going to get you a promotion, but you can get a paycheck. Okay? That's not necessarily what I am trying to promote here. If you are in that situation, it might be a good time for you to make some change and get to a place where you can actually elicit change and growth. So past this kind of minimum activity, that might be doing the minimum, kind of pushing yourself a little bit, but not a lot. As we kind of move forward up the scale, we're going to kind of look at what we're calling, you can call it a lot of things. This is exertion, and then we've got overexertion. So maybe if you wanted to look at from an RPE scale, maybe this is starting to get to that RPE 7. That's where maybe we're pushing a little bit. We're actually eliciting change. Maybe the heart rate's starting to raise. Maybe we're feeling a little bit of strain. There is effort involved. Yeah, I think effort is a good one to kind of think about here. Now, and there's also going to be time. So over time, we should be able to elicit less effort and get a greater result. So in the gym, if you've been deadlifting for a few years, maybe your warm-up set now is much more higher than when you started. So you're doing less effort for a greater load. What I want to get to in life, as well as in the weight room, as well as in weight loss, as well as in behavior change, is as I want us to exert as much force as we can throughout the week to elicit some type of growth and change. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be all of the time, but there will be a general upward tilt to our effort throughout the week and throughout the months and throughout the years that will undulate. Okay? So what I'm kind of using here and as kind of a guidance for this is it might be 80% of the time we're going to be applying some form of exertion. Now, depending upon the levels of exertion, that is kind of up to you. There might be just a place that's a little bit of pre-exertion and a little bit post-exertion. That's the sweet spot. So let's say you're wanting to, right now you're averaging 6,000 steps a day. There might be an opportunity for you to push that a little bit, and you're going to find maybe a little bit of a level of exertion might be 7,000 to 9,000 steps a day. At some point down the tracks, your level of exertion will be similar when you're doing 10 to 13,000 steps per day. So we're trying to apply a growth mindset to how we see change and understanding where are we at on the scale of our effort today. So depending upon your goals, you need to elicit enough effort to elicit change. So we want to try to find a sweet spot in this change cycle so we can stay there just past the level of kind of where there is a little bit of a sweet spot is typically where we are. If we're living over here in overexertion, we won't be able to sustain our efforts. That's for very minimal times, and that is kind of, this is this mild versus wild kind of concept here as well. So you've got most training is going to be mild, some training will be wild, and that might be for a challenge or something where you're doing, but it's not necessarily something you can sustain. So, probably most training here and maybe something like that. So 80% of your training is going to be mild, 20% of your training is going to be wild, but it does need to be in some kind of exertion that is eliciting some type of growth or change. And it won't be immediate change, but it's over time. If we're doing this, we're going to see the results that we're after. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to kind of discuss some of those concepts with you. We've kind of gone from this very idle to the overexertion, discussing where we want to elicit change on our level of exertion. It doesn't have to be all out all the time. It actually shouldn't be all out all the time. You need to find your sweet spot, giving yourself 80% of the time you're going to be making effort, and 20% of the time can be rest, recovery, more mild behaviors. This isn't an all-out charge, but it is going to be something that we do need to be in a bit of a hurry. Great quote is, "It's not too late, but we have to hurry." So hopefully that will be something that you can chew on for a little bit. I hope it helps. Once again, this is Jesse. Please like, subscribe, and shoot me some comments about this talk today. Have a great day.